we have the Catholic still into the Lenten season. We know that that also comes to an end in a couple of days. That would also come to an end with the Easter feasting. We're going to be talking extensively about that and a little bit of acculturation when it comes to Christianity. So the topic is going to be Christianity and the imperative of acculturation in Nigeria. We have Reverend Father Dr. Josephat Nwankwo. He is a priest, scholar, and leadership expert. Good to have you. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
All right. What is acculturation, and why does it matter in the context of Christianity?
Actually, the word acculturation within the context is a social methodology of accommodating other elements of a culture or apparent culture into other cultures. But in our current context, I would like us to formulate it so that it becomes a little bit theological and more comprehensive. And I would like us to address it as inculturation. That means a process whereby you can call it accommodation, you can call it a contextualization, or even indigenization. A process whereby you make other cultures, the Christian culture, integrate herself into other cultures without destroying the elements of the latter. So that is inculturation. And acculturation is also contained in inculturation.
So for you, how do you think over time Christianity has adopted the concepts of acculturation?
Yeah, actually, right from the time of St. Paul, acculturation or inculturation has been a process, because if you go in the Acts of the Apostles, chapter 17, verse 23, you see where Paul came to the Ephesians and said, yeah, when I was coming to you, I saw some gods, unknown gods you have been worshipping. I bring you the real God, who is God Almighty. So you see, this is a process already. Even at the time of St. Paul, at the time of Christ, you see, it was Yahweh, or what they call Yahweh or Jehovah, that was the dominant God, the God of the Hebrews. But now, during the integration of the Gentiles, that is we, into the people of God, our cultures were also integrated into the same process, and we became Christians. It is a process of inculturation or acculturation, a process of indigenizing what was there and making it Christian. Call it Christianization, if you like, but they are saying the same thing in different ways.
Right. Do you think that cultures around the world in some way have a way of changing or maybe influencing how Christianity is viewed in different, locations across board? I mean, I'm thinking to myself, the way and manner that an American practices Christianity is different from the way and manner that an African practices Christianity, and sometimes that can even become a problem in itself. Can you speak to that in the context of inculcating culture into Christianity?
Yeah, inculcation, inculcation can destroy, but inculturation accommodates, tries to use the existing elements, Christianism, make them become then whatever is Christianizable, whatever is noble within the existing cultures. Christianity adapts and tries to grow within the given culture itself. So that is called inculturation, or if you want acculturation, which is saying the same thing in different ways. The other one is the socializing aspect of it. The other one is a theological and religious aspect.
Mm. Do you think that there is the African culture, the way it stands, sometimes clashes with, you know, the Christian values, given that sometimes some of these write-ups were way before, you know, way in the past, and sometimes the modernization of the way we live has changed the way and manner these things are actually viewed. Some people are asking and even calling for a newer version of the Bible in order to suit the times that we are in. And of course, largely the Bible is written with a culture of, you know, the white people, the culture of the Jews, you know, and the likes. So do you think there are clashes amongst cultures when there is this level of acculturation into Christianity?
Yeah, actually, the Jewish culture is not synonymous with Christianity. Christianity Christianized to a large extent the Jewish culture, integrated it, and then made it their own way of life. And then the same process is being used in Africa, Asia, America, Europe. So it is actually, it doesn't belong to any people as such. It is, like I said, a process which was popularized with the Second Vatican Council in the 60s, and the Pope Saint John Paul II then made this a very concrete concept in the year 1975, when he used it in addressing the Conference of Catechists, and said that we have to inculturate the people's own norms, their own behavioral patterns into the ways of Christianity, adopting what should be adoptable, what passes on, what suits the Christian belief, and of course, jettisoning what doesn't belong to it. And this is a process, that's what, like I said before, you can call it accommodation, you can call it contextualization, you can call it also indigenization, making it what was there become Christian, an intermarriage, but not an unholy alliance. No, but an intermarriage of what Christianity brings and adopting what the people have already, and making both to grow hand in hand and coming into a rapprochement that is becoming one at a stage, and that is what we call Christianity. So Christianity doesn't destroy. Christianity enhances a people's culture. Take it, for instance, in Africa, you have so many things like a little one in our Igbo land, you have Ozo society, which was meant what completely call it anti-religious. But today, Ozo title has been Christianized, and both priests, even religious, and every person cannot belong to Ozo, have end the Ozo title. In Arundizo, for instance, you have the Hmong society and the other feasts, pertaining to it, KG feasts and all that such stuff. These things were things that were negated as and called paganish, in our common parlance. But today, they are meant for both the clergy, laity, and people of God. So in this process, Christianity goes into a people, gets what is best in them, ennobles it, presents to God, and sanctifies it, and it becomes noble.
Okay, you speak largely about enculturation, inculcating the local culture into Christianity. How much of that is happening so much so that we don't lose the true essence of what Christianity is? there are people who still believe that the Bible is skewed against women. And so because of that, they don't really speak largely about that aspect, when it comes to women and men relationship. Do you think some persons who have issues with the culture, or with the way the Bible is written, they are justified by their thinking? And how do we begin to inculcate or culturize our culture into the Bible, and so much so it doesn't really affect the true teachings of what Jesus Christ, the Son of God, tries to put across?
Yeah, thank you. This is that is really a good question. How do we enculturate without wounding, without a type of making a nonsense of the Christian message? And that is why you have the teachings of the church, basically the interpretation of the Bible. That is why you have the traditions of the church, of the faith, which is given from generation to generation, from age to age. And that is why you call the Bible the immortal book, the book that belongs to every age. And the what you call the magisterium of the church, that teaching authority given to Peter in Matthew chapter 16, that the church has continued to translate in every age, is what actually acts as the guideline. So with that, one can now start thinking of the infallibility of the teachings of the church is as the mouthpiece of God himself. So it becomes actually the tenets of the faith are clarified by the church herself, and then women in the church, these are contained within the ambience of the teachings of the church.
Would you advocate for a culturally inclusive Christianity? And do you think that the people that has been assigned to interpret the Bible, or if you like, who have tried to, merge our culture with Christianity, do you think they are doing it right? We've seen several priests give doctrines and teachings from the same Bible, but they sometimes even speak differently when it comes to trying to interpret what the Bible has said, just because, of course, they probably have two different ideas and two different thoughts. Do you think that there must be a way and manner people are, inculcated or even schooled into that level? Because it's not just anybody who could, get into that space, because that's what it looks like. It's, especially in Africa, is largely unregulated. Anybody can wake up and say they're a man of God, that God called them, even though that sometimes, or even most of the time, they're not called. So do you think that there must be a process? Because sometimes we're in trying to interpret the Bible using our culture. So some persons deliberately, or sometimes ignorantly, mislead people.
Yeah, I'm happy you said people try to do it their way, and you use the word ignorantly, and the blind cannot cannot lead a blind person. They will both fall into a ditch. So in our own context, especially here in Nigeria, I don't know about the rest of Africa, but I believe it is the same all over Africa. They try. There's a freelance attitude to the explication of the Bible or biblical context. Other places you have qualified people that teach so that they can now interpret the mind of the Bible, interpret the content of the Bible, what you call exegesis. That means getting from the context interpreting it, and then contextualizing it within the present parlance, making it our own in our own time. Like I said, the Bible is the eternal word of God, unchangeable, but translatable into other cultures, other languages, other times, and other events. So this idea of independent translation and do it as you like is actually is a well, it's a travesty of the norms of the Bible and of the church.
Do you think that space should be regulated? People to only accept those who are qualified, like you mentioned. And how should it be regulated? Should it be a body set up by the government or by a board, or would it be an act of legislation, so that people know that when they are going for interpretation of the Bible, in a cultural sense, they know where they're headed. They know where to get their facts, right. So I'm just wondering, how do you feel, or how do you think that space can be regulated?
Yeah, when you talk of the regulation, the translation and the teaching of the Bible has the teaching body of the church that says this is what it is. But you see, the defiants, the rebels, people who think that every unsuccessful business person, the only chance he has in life is to carry a Bible or carry any book and start shouting abracadabra, yeah, and the rest of them, then that he wins the day. And of course, they play on the psyche and the psychology of the people. And of course, they understand the problems of the people. And the more the problems are, the more they win the time. You see, for instance, today in our society, nobody wants to hear work hard and become a successful person. Each person wants to get rich quick. And once you are able to shout hallelujah, Jesus will do it. No pens for you. Your success is yours. It is not your portion. Whose portion should it be to be poor? Whose portion should it be to work hard and as to get success? Nobody wants to hear that in our society. Rather, you will carry the Bible, lift it, and say, success is yours. Tomorrow you become a millionaire. Tomorrow you become a professor without passing primary six. See, these are the things that are counterproductive and the counterfeit of Christian teaching. But there is a teaching body of the church, what you call the magisterium of the church. The magisterium, the teaching body that teaches this is where the church is, this is what Christ tells us in the Bible, this is the translation. The rest are anomalies.
What role do you think that the people themselves can play in this regard? We've spoken about the acculturation of our traditions and culture into Christianity, and having to basically regulate that space to the extent of knowing that whatever is is coming out of there is legit. But then again, when you have a situation in Africa where it is largely unregulated, anybody, like you mentioned, can wake up and maybe because they are bad in one business, or maybe they are not doing well in life, the next thing they could do is just to pick a Bible and go on the street. And so, do you think that people themselves have a role to play in sometimes identifying some of these people who are fake? And also, do they also have a role to be able to discern, these issues when you know that this is not right? Maybe it's not in tandem with your culture, or it's not in tandem with Christianity. How do they go about, pinpointing, these issues so they don't fall prey?
Yeah, actually, priests have a role to play there, but priests are also in the minority. majority of the suffering people are those giving these interpretations. The failed traders, or the jobless youth, or the man who has squandered the little he has, and all he has gotten is the Bible. He carries it, goes into the village, and invades the ignorant people within the village by presenting them with witches and witchcrafts, people who are killing them, telling them that hospital is useless, that medication is nonsense. They should pray from morning till night, and manna will be falling from heaven, and he will be stealing from the little ones they have, until he destroys them. Quite often, you continue to repair the damages. These call it robbers in disguise with the Bible, because in the towns and villages. So, but for instance, if you come in a place you have only maybe one trained priest, and oftentimes you find these trained priests among, primarily the Catholic priests, Anglican priests, Methodists to a large extent, and you have many others who are counterfeits. And it is like the day trying to fight with the night. It is a difficult onus which challenges modern day priesthood, modern day church, mainstream churches in particular, because most of these other self-made apostles, prophets, teachers, and the pastors, well, with their boo-boo-yaya, they can win and damage so many souls. But that does not justify their method. That does not justify their manipulations. That does not justify their ignorant approach to biblical interpretation.
Do you think that the Christian religion enhances the tradition and our cultural practices? I've heard a lot of people say that the Christian religion somewhat destroyed our local and indigenous religious practices. Some others say that it's rather enhanced it. For you as a priest, from the standpoint of where you are, with what you have and with what the knowledge that you have received over the years, do you think true that the Christian religious studies has enhanced our culture, our tradition, or has practically derailed it?
Well, actually, only the ignorant will say that Christian religion has destroyed our cultures. In fact, the Christian religion has enhanced the African traditional ways of life. Take, for instance, killing of twins. Take, for instance, ostracization of women, degradation of women in the societies. Take, for instance, so many anomalies that were admitted in our culture. Christianity has come to abrogate that and give us a different orientation. Yes, sir. So there has been a type of intermarriage between Christianity and culture in our own case. Our traditions, some of them were very good, very, very noble, and they were returned. Like I said, the ones that were abhorrible were jettisoned by Christianity, by condemning them. But you see that these days, some people try to bring back these cravings through the back door. You see, they do all sorts of things and call them tradition. No, they're not tradition. So we know our tradition. We adhere to our tradition to a large extent. You see, previously, even the language of the church was only Latin. You see, but from the 50s, it was now made, the vernacular was made our language. So because God doesn't understand only Latin, but the missionaries had to make use of what they had in order to get what they wanted in the people. In order to encourage, you have to begin from somewhere. But today, with the general language everybody understands, look at how they're mutilating the Bible itself, using the Bible to destroy everything that African tradition stands for. By this, I call them those who go to bury with their backs, you know, on your news. That is, they get entered into the grave with the bags in order just to rob. You know, they are bandits. You say, misdirecting people and actually destroying so many souls in the name of Christianity for their own selfish ends. Well, God is the ultimate judge. We're not trying to judge anybody, but from what we see and assess as humans, in fact, it is pitiable what is happening in our midst today. So, actually, like a question runs, the priests have much to do, but you have to then try to decipher the seed from the chaff. Which are the priests? Self-made priests that are parading themselves all over the places, or the real authentic priests that were schooled in the thoughts of theology, in the thoughts of biblical analysis, in the thoughts of hermeneutics, in the thoughts of the analysis of the Bible itself. So these are the modern day challenges, and actually it is a big problem.
Well, I've seen a school of thought that says that the African tradition can and must be inculcated into Christianity. But I do not know what your thought
Sorry.
regarding
Can I
this.
get you right there?
Can you hear me?
Now, okay, come on.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, better now.
Okay, so I was saying that
School of thought.
there are people who say they can mix the African tradition with Christianity. You know, they go to church in the morning and in the evening they do their traditional thing. Some persons would also say that, look, you can't serve two gods at the same time. What's your thinking on that? Because some persons say they are really rooted in the African culture, but yet they still want to practice Christianity.
Well, deep rooted in African culture, all of us are, because you can't see a goat without the skin. Every African is rooted in his culture. I'm rooted in my culture. I am. If you drink the water from your home, you are rooted in that water. If you speak the language of your home, you are rooted in it. If you had your childhood plays with your peers, you are rooted in the cultures around you. But the question is, are what they call cultures and traditions actually cultures, or their own personal emendation as to give the dog a bad name and kill it? That is what we have to decipher, what we have to know. Ask ourselves these questions, because people teach what they think it is and practice what they think it is, and are forgotten what it should be.
Right. I want
So,
to get a clear answer regarding that. Because, again, just like what's going on right now in Anambra State, so many persons think that people have freedom of religious, affiliations. People like to go with Okite. People want to serve their God in the way that they believe that their God listens to them. And then again, you also have, on another hand, Christian is a Christian society. The Anambra State government is saying clearly that they really don't want these kinds of things, because they are the ones who sell this idea and thoughts about trying to go out there to do something wrong, and they will not be caught. Probably doing charms for them, praying to their God to give them charms in order for them to go out or come back safely, especially when they're going out to do things wrong. So you want to balance it out as to what exactly people are doing. I mean, in the morning you're a Christian, you are Christ-like. In the evening you are back to, serving the God that you believe, in more.
Well, the Anambra saga is a very pathetic situation where syncretism has overtaken the people. You see, and well, even syncretism is a situation whereby one mixes incompatible issues and confuses all of them. So in the case of Anambra issue, call it Okite, call it Okumiri, call it Mirite or anything, is an absolute syncretism. And of course, it is absolutely a type of manipulation of people's psyche, and get rich quick syndrome. Harvest without cultivating. Do anything possible to get money, without any hard work. I think that is the problem in Anambra, which the governor has taken the bull by the horn. He's challenged everybody. Say you are this, or you are prophet, this, you are Dibia, this, you are Ojena Bani, or you there. Please disappear from the cell of the enforcement agency, and I will leave you free. I don't know, you are a public servant, you are a journalist. Has any person disappeared from the cell since then?
No one that I know of that have disappeared.
Okay, so that tells you the extent of manipulation of our people. So the Anambra State Governor Soludo should be given kudos for taking the bull by the horn and challenging these pseudo magicians and sticking his neck out to make sure that they adhere to the norms of a civil society.
Yeah, there are people who have, even taking him to court that he's infringing on their rights to traditional religion. That it's none of his business if they decide that's what they want to do. That's after all, everybody does charm. I mean, even the Christian community also do it. Charm in the sense of they pray to God. They also do their own okite in that sense. So just like you would allow any other person to practice their religion, you should also allow them practice their own religion if they want to stick to traditional religion. Do you think there's a thin line?
Sorry, there is freedom of religion for everybody, but not when it infringes on another's rights. Then it becomes a total manipulation. It becomes a type of assault on religion itself. Because the thing they call, take for instance, our people that worshipped, our traditional worshippers were very wonderful people, sacred people, holy people, I must say. Most of them in the past. They were never so rich, but today, after all this abracadabra, you will charge 10 million for somebody so that something will be vomiting money for the person. Have you heard of that in the history of life? Where objects will be vomiting money. Only God knows what. So this is satanic. Satanism should not be mixed up with African religion. It is an abuse of our own heritage. You see, it is Satanism they are practicing, not Christian, not African religion. Please, let us try to distinguish these things properly. So I say, thank you, Governor Saludo, for at least approaching these things with utmost dispassion.
All right. I want to say a very big thank you, Reverend Father Dr. Josephat Nwankwo, a priest and a scholar, a leadership expert, giving us an insight into the Christianity and imperative of acculturation in Nigeria. We really appreciate you for your insights into this topic. It's quite an interesting one.
Yeah, thank you very much. Our Christian Signature TV. I'm happy having you, and I pray God to continue to inspire you to greater interviews and greater engagement in our society.
Thank you so much.
Signature TV. News in your pocket.